Hi, welcome to the San Diego Union Museum. This is where the San Diego Union newspaper, which was one of San Diego's early newspapers, began in 1868. And it's still in print today. If you've ever heard of the Union Tribune, that's what we're called now. This is what they would have used to make the newspaper back in the day. This is called a Washington press. They were very popular on the frontier because they were very hard to break. And a lot of the different pieces that could break on it would be able to be fixed by a blacksmith, which was always convenient because you didn't want to have to wait for parts or people when you live out in the middle of nowhere like we were at the time. So these are what's called plates. They're a modern process that we wouldn't have had back in the 1800s. Back then, we would have actually been using individual pieces of type that each had one letter on them. So you can imagine how long something like this would take. One of these pages, which was this size, would take about a day for a really good typesetter to do. If we were going to actually print a newspaper, we would make sure to have all of our stuff set up in type already. Then we would get our roller. We would roll it in ink on what's called an inkstone, which is where you would keep your ink so it's easier to clean. Then you would roll it on your type very lightly, because these are just like stamps. If you got too much ink on it, then you would just wind up with a big blurry mess. Once you had your ink on, you would lift this and you would put your paper where I have some paper right now. It would normally have little tabs which would hold it down, and I'd have two on the bottom and one on the side because of how big the newspaper was. Then this piece would be cut out to the size of what I was doing. So if I was doing something big like this, it would be almost completely cut out. And if I was doing something small, it would only have a small hole in it. That's so that when I pick it up again, the paper doesn't get stuck to the ink. So then I would bring this down. And there's a crank on the other side that I'm going to go and use, and you can see how it works from here. So now we're ready to actually do the press part of a printing press. There's a crank right here. And when I crank this, this will go underneath this bit, which is the part that actually does the pressing. It can be kind of heavy, so you have to be careful. Then this is the lever, which is what makes this go down. In the old days, it used to be a screw that you would have to screw down, but they wound up making it easier by making a lever. You can see when I pull back that actually moves up and down a little bit. It doesn't need to go far, it just needs to be enough to press down to make sure everything gets the same even pressure on it. Then we roll back this way, and then we would pick this up, and then we'd have half of our newspaper. Because we can only do one side at a time. Since it's individual pieces of type, there's no way to do both sides at the same time. We think that we probably were printing about 300 to 400 papers when we started in 1868, although we aren't completely sure because there are no subscriptions or anything that have survived. So if I was going to print 300 newspapers, that means I would have to actually print 600 times because I'd have to do both sides of my paper before I could fold it and make a 4-page newspaper.